skadoosh.
Wenger's an egomaniac. I mean, that is...
I'll be sat on my sofa.
You don't need to do that.
Do I like that,
I think that's
Lauren?
late.
Hang on.
No, I just don't accept that premise. You don't have any setup.
You don't have any setup. You just rock up and...
Because
you're on
it's
wired
not important.
Headphones.
It's not important seeing me in HD. In fact, to the point where the only thing that seemed important was the way that the AI completely misjudged my jawline on the... perfectly rendered. You, brilliant. Me, Vanilla Sky Tom Cruise.
So that was the...
Who is that?
It's like...
Who's that?
It's like you ate Boovie, and then I don't know who this is. This is just a different person.
That's if Boovie ate me. I just don't get it. Why has it been so harsh on my hairline? Why is it giving me that hair? Why is it all of the above? I just don't get it. I was just not having a good week last week, and then this
isn't me.
Your nose looks wrong. Your nose is very wrong.
Yeah.
That one.
That's me.
You look quite handsome in that almost.
Thank you, Laurence. Almost. Not quite, but almost.
I like the thing that we've both overlooked is football insights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I like the sort of the helpful football, the actual football in the background, which also, by the way, isn't actually fully round.
Yeah, totally. But I actually own, by the way, that you know that little the background, those lights, those floodlights. I have that exact thing that AI has referenced, and I used it for ages until I realised it was the only reference AI had for background lights.
Maybe that's where they're pulling it from.
They are. I'm almost certain of it, because in fact, yeah. Well, it's not. I don't own it, but I have it. Yeah.
Right. So all of AI is referencing you.
Yeah. I have big questions. You have big questions, and that's why we came together to make a podcast.
Welcome to Alex and Loz Talk About Football, episode 2.
For now.
Because last week was such a... For now. Alex and Loz... The title of the podcast is Alex and Loz Talk About Football, episode 2, for now.
Yep, correct. Immediate.
Last week was such a roaring success that we decided to build on it.
The people, they loved it, and I have questions. Can I pitch you a scenario and whether this is a good or bad thing to do in life? You have met a 10 out of 10 personality and attractiveness person. You want to go out on a date with them. For you, Alex, this might be a woman. For other people, in their scenario, who knows what it could be, right? But let's just say you've met that person. You're 4, maybe 5 dates in. Things feel like they're going really well, pretty solid, to the point where it's like, hey, this is good. But midway through date number 5, just as the vibe's getting good, you put your glass down on the table and you go, so where's this going? That's what you guys are doing to Martin Odegaard right now, all right? Enjoy the season you guys are having. Don't derail the title for no reason. Why, midway through a title charge, are you going, but does he really need to play the 10? You don't need to do that. Stop it. It's just advice. I'm just saying.
I appreciate the advice.
Stop ruining a really good time.
Is this
by
you
going,
on a date as well? This is you on the date.
That was me first date. Listen, is this going anywhere or not?
Stop ruining it. Stop asking me questions.
See, yeah. I'm meant to be really thoughtful.
I think there's something in football discourse is happening in sort of more and more of an echo chamber day by day, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's impossible to have I suppose the way I'll hear something that's being talked about in the Chelsea fan base, and I'm like,
why'd you do that?
What? How?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
And I think it's because you consume so much information about one thing. I don't know. I don't really have a theory on it. Maybe you can put it together. But basically, it's become a conversation. It's been a conversation for a long time in the Arsenal fan base. But maybe it hasn't been something. So it appears like it's a sort of a random middle of the season. Oh my god, we've got. But this has been bubbling for a long time.
I get that. You still, again, you're on this date with a 10 out of 10. And again, that's not just attractiveness. They have a great personality. Yes, we're having a great time. And there's no need at that point in the date to do that. The fifth date is the fifth season.
But
is what I was trying to get at.
But maybe that's the point. Let's say you're like,
you're trying to justify your toxicity.
Do I wife them up or not?
You're on the fifth date, and but not only that. Okay, but you're already by the fifth date. You're already pretty committed. Because it's 5 dates in. You probably know by that point. But what are you doing? Why are you? If you're on the date, don't question it while you're on the date.
No, but I think that's arguably the best time to do it because you're in the moment, and actually sometimes, there's sort of the football. And I'm going to ignore your analogy.
You shouldn't.
Odegaard is kind of representative, I think, for a lot of fans of everything wrong at the minute in terms of he can't seem to adapt and mould his game. Basically, as I think what a lot of us.
Then why is Arteta playing him if that's the case? Because you have you bought another option. Okay, fine.
Stick on the fan thing. He is representative of everything that is rigid and set about Mikel Arteta, which has been a really good thing. When all the non-negotiables were coming in, when all the sort of the structure was coming in, we were building our out-of-possession model. People loved that. We needed that. We need that. It's that thing. Bedtimes have been set, rules have been laid down, and that's really good. But there comes a point, I like to use another analogy, where you need to have some fun with the kids as well.
Now Arteta's cool dad, and the kid is overly disciplined.
Yes,
and can't let their hair down.
Has no lateral thinking. Has no doesn't bring ideas to the table.
Cannot relate.
I think that's kind of where we've got to with Odegaard, where he's angle biased. He is severely one-footed. He plays in the same spaces. He does the same thing every single game. And by the way, that is to a world-class level. To what he does, what Odegaard does is to a world-class level at what he does. But that's not what every game calls for and not what the Premier League always calls for. For example, if you're against Nottingham Forest, they didn't build up. They literally did not build up. So if you're saying to me one of his biggest benefits is his out-of-possession work and you're not facing any kind of build-up, then I'm only looking in possession. And then I'm seeing a guy who's recycling the ball constantly, who's putting the ball from the half space into the back post almost every single phase of it.
Yeah, okay, that's frustrating. I get that.
It's like...
Was that also why, there was a point which really stood out to me. You had a few chances where you won it back just in their half, just outside the D, and there were a few runners, and he could... No, against United, sorry.
Oh, right.
And you could have put a guy through instantly if he hadn't have been so one-footed.
Yes.
And he had to switch to the other foot. And by then, the run was being tracked. But if he'd have done it, bang, you could have done it. It would have. You probably wouldn't have come away from that game. Can I ask you one final question?
That lack of risk that people are feeling.
And all of that's fine. I get all of that. Say that at the end of the season.
I don't. But this is the thing. This is
no one's listening to you. No one's going to change because you say it. No one at the club.
This is the difference in our dating life. I think sometimes on the fifth day, it's the time to go. I'm not really. Maybe I could send you a text later on, or leave it a couple of days, and maybe sort of. But actually, I'm feeling it right now.
Right.
And maybe to get me over the line to wifey, we need to have this conversation.
I think I think my analogy was slightly wrong. There are 10 out of 10 in other people's eyes, but you have realised that this person, and so all of your friends maybe know her by proxy, and they go, "She's amazing." Dude, why are you? But you're going, but I want this thing, and not, it's not a sexual thing. It's just a very normal thing that you want, but you really want your wife to have that. And all your friends go, "Mate, don't mess this up." Yeah. And so what you've got is a 10 out of 10 partner. It doesn't have to be a man or a woman. It can be they, them. That's fine. And they are very brilliant. But other people go, I'll take it. The problem being, and this is the issue, you're like the dog with the bone almost, where you won't let go of that bone, but you really actually, if you did, you'd probably be a bit happier. You could probably watch Martin Odegaard go somewhere else, and he will absolutely shine for Inter Milan next year.
Almost certainly.
And everyone will go, it's a bit like Diaz at Liverpool, or Waneri, or Diaz at Liverpool. We let him go last season, and everyone, now he's scoring goals in the Bundesliga, he scored goals in the Champions League last night, and everyone goes, no way!
Yeah.
But they forgot the previous 7 games where he did nothing.
Yes.
And all of those other times. And the same with Ødegaard. My only thing is, it's
and
not
again, that's in
about
relation
that.
to discourse. And again, that's because you're watching from the outside and you're seeing a highlight or a snippet, and you go, "Oh, why did they let go of Diaz?" But actually, within the Liverpool fan base, I bet there's really good arguments for why you let Diaz go.
There's great arguments, and I also think I see the Ødegaard thing. It's just I feel a bit like the mood in your camp has shifted too much when I read it, and I just wanted to get the read on where the mood really was.
Yeah.
Because from the outside, it looks as if you've swung too negative.
Yeah, you're looking at the girl's Instagram that I'm dating and going, "What do you mean?
I'd never do that. Love you.
What do you mean you're not gonna wife her up?
Yeah, and we're flicking through the morning after, and I'm going,
exactly.
I can't believe that you said that. Right, that makes sense. So,
yeah.
Why are you? How do you fix that? Is my question, because I genuinely think this is. By far and away, Arsenal have been the best team in the league this season. City have sort of had this resurgence and they've hung on, but they haven't been the best team in the league. They've been very vulnerable. At times, I think Ryan Cherky has produced moments where I've gone, wow, that's really brilliant. And, Phil Foden has been really, it's nice to see his resurgence. I'm really happy for him. But I'm just, I'll just cover that off. No, I didn't like. I thought, I don't know about you, but last year there were a lot of people criticising him, and from the things that I'd heard, I thought it was undue criticism, and you're the best team in the league. Don't suddenly now psych yourself out of this. Is what I'm saying.
I hear it, but look, this is why, we'll get into a slot later. This is why, from an outside perspective, I'm just watching. I'm just watching the guys who are having a bit of a dip with the Premier League. Same as Spurs. Like Thomas Frank, I'm looking from the outside going, he's 8 points off Champions League with about 15 injuries. He's just got there. Chill out. But then you're within the Spurs community. I watched a reel of all the things he's said and done, which I wouldn't have particularly have noticed. And I'm
Do you think he did the Arsenal Cup deliberately? Do you think I think the Arsenal Cup was a mistake. I don't think he meant to do that.
So. I like to think so.
What you think he was there going? Watch this. Go and take some pictures, PA.
I think with Ødegaard, it's that exact grasses. You're looking at the girl on Instagram. It's that, and it's not to say that the girl on Instagram or the girl on the day isn't lovely, and she is and has wonderful qualities. But to wife her up, there's certain things you're going. You slurp when you eat, and I can't.
You heard that right?
You wouldn't know that if you were just looking on Instagram. So it's that thing. And I think, as I said, the reason I come back to
slurping when you're eating really fits so well with that as well, doesn't it? Because
he exemplifies exactly what people aren't loving about Arteta right now. And I basically think, to answer your question, we just need a bit of a palate cleanser. We just need Eze to come in for a couple of games, and then what will happen? And it happened again against Newcastle away. Ødegaard was out for a little bit. He comes on, plays the last 5 minutes. We score that goal, the 2-1, the Gabriel goal. He was played a blind, and everyone went, "Oh my god, he's back." You just sometimes need a bit of a palate cleanser because everyone's so in the discourse.
And tense. Yeah, exactly. we had that with Darwin Nunez and other people like that, where it was like he would come in some games and just be such a shift, but it wasn't necessary. The weird thing is, obviously, you see him and you see him doing this stuff, and he does it, and then it's effective. But if Ødegaard did that from the start of the game, it wouldn't work, which is kind of what was happening against United, right? And you became quite predictable. I guess. I still just think the reaction's been a bit much, or at least from what I've read. And maybe I'm only getting the very top line of it because I only see I follow you and I follow, a couple of other Arsenal, I mute some of the other Arsenal guys. And there's that. I think it's your chance here. Enjoy it, because I remember the enjoyment that you were getting at the start of the season out of, this is our year and this should be our thing sort of thing.
Well, the enjoyment thing does relate to it because a lot of people think they'd enjoy it more if Ødegaard was out of the team because of the lack
who
of
would replace him, sorry? So what would the shape be without him?
Eze, probably.
So Eze, Zubimendi, Rice.
We've also got Havertz back and he played in midfield.
Sure, look, Havertz is great.
I think what you say, I think this is kind of true of wider discourse in general, in the sense that you can get too close in on an issue. And sometimes what happens is when you have all of the information, you hear all the arguments, and you're constantly you're an Aston Villa fan who's really debating whether Konza should be, left centre back or right centre back,
Okay,
or whatever the thing is, right? And you're so in on the discourse. Sometimes you can lose the wood for the trees, 100%. And so and sometimes I think people who have all the information go, "Oh, you guys don't understand. You don't understand why we wouldn't want Ødegaard." But actually, sometimes having that external perspective and going, "Do you want to sell Diaz?" Just to say quickly, like,
sure.
I see him. I'm not as in it, but I think that is a worthy perspective.
I get what you're saying. All opinions are valid except Robbie Savage's. So I think the main thing for me was that you are the first team in the Champions League, this new orientation to do the unbeaten thing.
Mm-hmm.
We
nearly
really
became
good.
the first team in the Champions League to win every league. No, sorry, win 8 games in a row by 2 goals or
2 goals or more.
Got
and if you hadn't have allowed Kairat to score those goals, you would have done that. Which
Kairat Almighty.
Is that also just because there were a lot of people making fun of Arsenal yesterday for not selling a lot of tickets, and I think Rory talks Rory talks football. I think Rory. It was. But if I say Rory, you think I mean Jennings. He said, "Oh, a lot of people won't spend 50 quid to go," and I thought that's valid. Do you think it was that? Or I don't think Arsenal are going to react whether it's a half full stadium or not. Some people are kind of having to go at that today. I don't think that's valid.
I don't know. I think, and this is good. We had some boos after the United game, and a lot of people were like, "Oh,
what are you booing? What do you think the booing meant?" Because I had my thing with the booing last season, where like booing is too collective, and everyone then just assumes what they think the booing's about.
Oh, with Trent. With I always think, and again, there's the kind of banter aspect of it, which is like, "Oh, your fans." Like, but if I'm actually trying to analyze it, and I will, I never feel comfortable telling fans to change their behaviour. Sure. I never feel comfortable going like, "You guys need to stop booing," or "You guys need to turn up at this thing," or "You
agree.
guys." It's like if the results are good,
Thatcher?
if the results are good, it's cart before the horse for me, basically, to tell the fans.
So I agree with that. I think that's been cart before the horse. Last season, the theme was humble. This season, I think, genuinely, it was. I think that was I think it was the Oda cart before the horse is the theme this year, where Liverpool put the cart before the horse with their transfers. Man United did that with Amorim. To an extent, I'm stretching cart before horse, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of people who've kind of gotten ahead of themselves in the process they're in, and that's what I'm saying to you. There was that old phrase. I can't remember if it was Bill Shankly. I think it was Bill Shankly. The player said, "If I get, we might get a penalty in the game. If you get a penalty, put it away, and afterwards we'll talk about the options."
Right.
And it's sort of like that. That's kind of where I'm at with Arsenal. Is like, do it, and then later we'll work out what you should have done right or wrong.
Yeah.
But, I think you guys get a little bit overanalyzed, and I also think it's probably, I think there's a bit of a desperation to watch a title race. And I think that there is a title race on, isn't there? Because City are improving and sort of doing what?
Just signed Gehi and Semenyo. I also, and I want to...
2 billion spent.
This is brilliant transition work. Chelsea might be in the title race. I want to talk Chelsea. Results have been really good under Rossini so far.
So I don't know why more people aren't saying that.
Yes.
I don't get why they're on... when they won on the weekend, I went, that was good. I should make a video about that. No one seemed to acknowledge it. Everyone just went, but the glasses and the Brent thing.
But the man age.
Yeah.
Charlton won, Chelsea 5. They ran as close. They lost, but they ran as close in the League Cup semi-finals. They beat Brentford 2-0. They beat Paphos 1-0. They beat Palace 3-1. And they beat Napoli 3-2 with some gorgeous goals from João Pedro. I think, is Liam Rossini part of this kind of... Part of the success of him is this slight diary of a CEO, LinkedIn management thing. And I wonder whether this is kind of where the league is going a little bit, because I kind of... All the coach speak stuff and the kind of the, like, for example, he does a lot of like, well, I don't want to talk about 11 players. I want to talk about 22 outstanding individuals. It's a lot of that.
It's it's reminiscent of Rogers sometimes,
Yes.
where the reframing is so aggressive,
yes,
that you go, that wasn't what I asked.
Yeah.
Like, and there are other managers that are much better at transitioning in a way where, like, I think Pep and Klopp are very passive aggressive in the way that they would do that. Arteta is I think Arteta's actually quite good at reframing.
He's very good at it, but it's lower key.
It's also because English isn't his first language. I think he gets a bit more of a pass as to how he speaks. Whereas Rosinia looks like a guy who works in your local hospital in the administration department and just told you that your grandma sadly can't afford the surgery anymore. And that's kind of...
But he's phrased it so brilliantly.
But he's gone... But I think what we've seen there is life always goes on, haven't we, guys?
Yeah.
You know? And that's where... And the sobbing... But he's also delivered that to a sobbing family. So they're all miserable, but he goes, but in many ways, I suppose we'll use the ashes on your roses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's... Okay. Rosinia's LinkedIn.
I derailed you there, I'm sorry.
No, Rosinia's link. I want this derailment.
Okay.
Slot. What social media is Slot?
He doesn't have social media. He's not a social media guy.
But
you
have to. I think he's.
So right. Okay. Sorry. I thought. Okay. Because Slot isn't the kind. Slot's got Instagram, but he uses it in a way which Meta don't really like, and he just kind of he's quite blunt with his use of social media. I would say he's the best thing he can do is Instagram.
Instagram. I buy Instagram. I can't afford it, but I buy it. I think Pep is YouTube.
Pep's definitely YouTube. He's super conspiratorial. He's super passive aggressive.
Everyone wants to be him, but sort of can't work out how. He's so effeminate
that he's masculine. That's YouTube. Does that make sense?
He pops up with just bizarre things every so often.
Every now and again you go, oh, it was really good.
And it's brilliant sound bites.
Right, yeah.
Perfect.
That's true. Yeah.
I think Arteta is sort of close to LinkedIn. Arteta feels like Facebook to me.
The problem with Arteta is he feels like Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem with him. Like they don't. Not everyone gets it. And
but those who do get it, love it.
Those who do get it, love it. But then there are other people that go, "What is that namby-pamby platform where they cut what where they have safe spaces?
What's Blue Sky One?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's that.
And you need to convert everyone. But Unai
is Bebo or MySpace, but it's because he's just still going.
Rebranded. They've rebranded. And
they've rebranded.
Like, it's actually quite good.
Yeah, no, it is actually quite good. You can still do the friend list thing, which is the Europa League.
Yeah. I think Carrick is X.
Do you think Carrick is what? Because he's so British.
He hates he hates the word philosophy. I think I heard him say in an interview, which feels quite sort of old man shouts at cloud.
But it also feels very kind of I don't know who he appeals to, but he appeals to a certain group.
Yeah.
And I think he does. I think he's one of those people who doesn't. He either knows how European he is, or he has no idea that paella comes from another place. Like some people are like, lasagna, a great British dish. Do you know? I feel like that's kind of him. Yeah, I feel like X is probably... Sometimes people just don't fit. So who's the manager who isn't social media? Who's the manager who just refuses to platform?
I mean, Moyes would be the obvious pick. Maybe Facebook is Eddie Howe.
I think Facebook is Eddie Howe. It's definitely the thing that you share that no one wants.
It has worked. Will it work?
And they're always trying to force you to log back into it, but you're sort of like, do I have to do that?
You feel like you need to keep it, but you're not quite sure why.
Why? Yeah. And then every now and again you see the other platforms and you go, those look great.
Those look great.
But
he's always in the big conversations around social. Oh, Facebook, but you don't use it. You don't.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he's fantastic for disseminating propaganda. And then denying it
by Mark Zuckerberg
afterwards. Yeah.
I can't remember how we got there.
I think he's also the kind of
Senior.
guy I would actually love a barbecue with Eddie Howe.
Yeah, he'd be great.
I think
He's got real safe dad energy.
He's a really safe
nice.
person. But
Yeah.
I also think for that reason, if you wander outside of the lines, he sort of goes, I'm going to go get another beer. And it doesn't, that's as far as you go with Eddie.
Yeah, he won't indulge you in sort of, what if there are aliens? He's like, we're not going here.
Yeah.
Do you want another
Laurence,
Budweiser?
I heard you went travelling this summer. Where'd you go? And then you say a few places and he goes,
All right.
yeah, your dad said you enjoyed it. And then he just walks off.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I don't know why. It
glad you
just
enjoyed
doesn't
it.
make me feel comfortable. I feel comfortable around those people, but to the point where it's because I don't know. I know I have no commitment really from them or to them.
Yeah, it's like they won't. They're listening, but they're not.
Right. He's just
Like-
totally in a space of,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like sort of press button for social function now.
Right.
How are
and
you?
Then
Good. How are you? Yeah, good.
the meat
Tick.
is good. Yeah, excellent.
We did that.
I think it's mostly that. I think there's. I was just trying to look at other managers who are. I mean, some people just don't fit. Full stop. I don't know what Xabi Alonso is. I feel like he's like almost Chat GPT or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's not
maybe.
social, but he feels like he's the future. I just feel a bit like. I feel like what we're doing from the outside, and I think this is quite a common thing in football. Footballers are not normal people. Like they have been raised in a very weird way.
Sorry, this was my point about Liam Rossini.
Right.
My point was basically just to say this, and I'll let you go in a second, but you've reminded me. From the outside, we view all that LinkedIn speak as like a bit cringe, right?
Yeah.
They love it. They must do. And that's kind of why it works.
I think it's either that they love it, I think you're right. I think they probably do love it, or I think they just like it. I think a lot of them just don't think about it in the same way as we do because they don't interact with. In that world, I don't think there's anyone like
on
Liam. So yeah, so they're not on. No, if Enzo posted really great game last night, and 5 shots of himself, and then a behind the scenes of him doing the goal,
Yeah.
he's not going to do that because that's not the world they live in. And I don't think any of these players have ever met someone like Liam Rossini before. And I don't therefore think that they have the prejudged ideas that I have of the people that act like Liam Rossini.
Yeah, maybe it's... Yeah, I kind of buy that, but I suppose the what's the distance that people are putting between it? It's like it feels a bit forced. It feels like he's read it and he's gone, this is how, and that's on the social media. He's read it somewhere in a book and gone, right, I'm now going to do that, and it feels contrived a little bit. But if you're a player, also maybe you quite like that, even if you realise it's a bit contrived.
You know what you're going to get.
Prepared. He's like,
Yeah,
he's prepared, and that's a good thing.
You can repeat it. It can be something that you
Predictable.
can. Yeah, you either use it as inspiration, or it washes off you, and you go, right, I'm going to go and perform well now. But at least he's told me I'm going to go and play in this position right here. I doubt that I'm really curious now as to whether he does the man age thing 1-on-1, because that would be even worse. The worst thing you can do is go, you're a man, and my job is to man age you. Does that?
I think that's I don't know. It's kind of more Jake Humphrey, isn't it?
But I wonder if a player goes, God, yeah, maybe some of his players are the kind of people that sometimes in a conversation, and I try to drop this as much as possible just to make it really awkward. I go, God, it's really deep, isn't it? Because the people that say that
people feel uncomfortable.
have just stood in a puddle. Like there is nothing deep to any conversation you have where you go, God, that's really deep, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. That never comes to mind.
It never comes to mind, especially around me. But you get what I'm saying. I think that's where
I hear that.
I think actually one thing that players really love, and I think he does have this, is sincerity.
Yeah. Conviction.
He's very sincere. He's convicted. He's very sincere, and at least they know where they stand with him. And obviously while things are good, that's really, you see one side of it and it's very simple to kind of get all these results. I'm not really sure that they've been very convincing. I just think you really see managers when things get a bit choppy, or you start to see more of the personality then. He was, very chippy when he first came in, when he went, of course you are, you're a journalist, or stuff like that. And I remember thinking, you're excited and you need to put a lid on that.
Yeah. Because he can put all the stuff from the books into practice, which is a fun part of the process. I think also on your point earlier about like a lot of these guys, they've just been in academies since they were 8 years old.
Right.
And what does that do? I think it's something like, I don't know whether this is the right articulation, but it's like it puts your brain into this position of everything is optimized. Everything you do is for pure optimization.
Yeah.
So a coach coming in and going 1%, 1%, 1%, LinkedIn speak probably feels right for these guys, especially for these guys who've been there since, 8 years old and have been in modern academies. Like that's the generation of footballers who are going, oh, this just feels like the next step up of optimization, rather than someone who's going to really hear you or manage you in a different way or a Mourinho way or whatever.
I was also trying to, I'd imagine that there'll be someone in the comments below who says, oh, actually, this Chelsea player's had this, or, this Chelsea player's,
I'm sure,
come into contact with this. I was wondering how many of these players have had kind of truly generation-defining managers that maybe break that illusion or maybe ruin a player to an extent. I think the Chelsea squad was ruined by Mourinho for years because so many of them had gone to such a great emotional place with Mourinho that they didn't feel they had that same connection with anyone else. And
possibly,
I don't think, I'm sure that there are people they've made connections with, but I can't really see anyone in this team where I think, yeah, that guy is going to, maybe Reece James, but Reece James kind of captain and maybe he's just kind of, he's slightly different. Sanchez, Fofana, maybe Cucurella, maybe Gusto, Santos, Caicedo, Pedro Neto, Fernandez, Estevao, João Pedro. None of these guys are kind of people where you'd say they've like really cut their teeth with the very cult of personality managers.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe they'll respond to that.
Right. And I'm just wondering if, that's the case.
I wonder how would you, to make someone run through a brick wall for you in that sense?
Yeah.
I wonder whether there needs to be a little bit of conflict and a little bit of we've been through stuff together type thing. And I wonder whether this optimizing LinkedIn type speak, does that optimize for that? Some degree?
It's a good question. That was the other thing I was going to...
Do you need to hate someone a bit? You hate them and then you have a clear the air chat and it's kind of, you have a bit of a rocky... sometimes it's like the ups are up, but the downs are really... And you have that sort of...
It's kind of the way that James Milner speaks about Jurgen Klopp, where he said, like, Jurgen would tell him to shut the up and stuff. And, like, that's what I mean. And that was part of it. But then other people became very emotionally drained by that. And I think some people... I don't know if every player longs for that. I think some people are in that ilk,
you're not looking to appeal
to
everyone. This is the thing, is you're not looking to appeal to everyone. So if there are certain victims of that, not good, it just doesn't suit them. But then you build a squad of players who that does suit, and then maybe you get the more higher highs because you have players who are so invested. And you can say to them, shut the and that's not optimal and in the coaching book, but they respect you for it. Maybe that's the...
See, I understand that element, and I think a lot of people kind of want that, but they also, in many ways, it couldn't have been two more contrasted managers than Napoli versus Chelsea last night.
Yeah,
because, Conte says, eat grass, I want them to spit blood by the time they finish in the season. Maybe he's sort of toned that down a little bit, and I imagine
I doubt it. Maybe in public.
Well, I also just think maybe the problem would be it gets a little bit tired sometimes, and I can't imagine that he walked in at Spurs and everyone went, "Yeah, we're going to spit blood for you by the end of this one." Like, I can't imagine anyone in that squad doing that. So, but he's got players at that team. Like, I think Rasmus Højlund has really become very engaged. McTominay just looks like a completely different person, and it is partly squad
love.
makeup.
It's love.
It does, but. Yeah.
We're receiving that.
And I think that's very meaningful. And then obviously you've kind of got the opposite of that again, where it's like Mourinho, he created, it felt a bit like he sort of created that moment last night. But maybe also we are attributing those things to those people. And actually, sometimes people do it in spite of that. Like,
Yeah.
James Milner would have run through a wall anyway, or Jordan Henderson would have been shouting at them whether Klopp had told him to or not. Do you know what I mean?
Even the commentator last night, it becomes a bit of a myth thing.
It was too much.
As it went in, he said Mourinho magic, and I was like,
Yeah.
it was quite a good delivery, I will say.
And it was also, and it was such a perfect delivery. It was also, when he says Mourinho magic, it's like, well, it was an extra man in the box. It was someone you can't mark.
Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah.
I always think that with those kind of corners, is I'm always like, if I was a coach, I think I probably could be. I would train them for if the goalkeeper came up, and then work out a very specific idea just to really put the opposition off that. And I don't understand why they didn't deal with that, but it was very, very late. And also they were down to 9 men at the time, because it stinks at Real Madrid right now. Like, it absolutely
It's smelly.
stinks. And I don't know why they accept that.
Do you think if the goalie came up, if you emptied the box instead?
So that's what I was kind of thinking, is whether there's if
Put
you
one
did,
man back.
he won't have done any drills to know what to do with offside or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's almost your best chance. Because goalkeepers don't go, where's the line? I suppose they just stay a lot deeper, don't they?
People were doing this with Arsenal for a little while, where they'd go and stand on the halfway line during our corners, because they'd be like, well, then you can't commit as many men forward. And I sort of think there's something in that with goalies.
I think that works. I think that was a thing for a little while. All I'm saying is, I just think, I guess it's kind of horses for courses, isn't it? With all of this, you could have a really inspirational manager. You could have someone who feels like they're just sort of running the place. I also think Chelsea, the more I look at them, the more I think they're run like an NBA team. And I think NBA teams do have long-term commitments, but they think in terms of, we could trade out of this situation. Yeah. And then they also, generally, I find NBA coaches slightly more passive in the way that they act. Mm-hmm. And I think we're used to much more front-facing managers. And actually, Chelsea are not. They're not trying to do that.
Yeah,
so Rossini is worse.
It is the more head coach model, which I think.
But something even beyond that. Like, yeah, they're even kind of. It's, I would even say, don't make him do the post match.
Yeah,
I don't know who does them. I don't.
Communications, but I still don't feel that's ever going to work properly in football.
Why? That is a question for me. Why don't they? Why doesn't anyone just go, the coach isn't going to do this? Someone else is going to do it. It's not.
What, post match?
Yeah.
It's just contractually obliged, isn't it? It's just like
I get that.
Your head coach has to talk to us.
I get that. Why isn't there like a collective thing where the club? I guess the clubs know it's marketing and those kind of things, but it really doesn't make much.
But also,
sense.
I think there is, because clubs know that managers, and that's why I don't think this sort of head coach, director of football model quite works properly,
media-wise.
I think the best version is when you have maybe when you first come in, a director of football with a head coach, then the head coach grows and the director of football allows it, and you have two really, really smart people who are aligned,
who are equal,
who do two different jobs. That might be the way to work it. Maybe Rossini gets there, but I think this idea of like the off-field team becoming the figurehead without you ever hear, or the real power brokers without you ever hearing from them, I don't think could ever work. And I think there is a cultural thing, and I'm sure there is in American sports as well, but particularly in football, of the god. I mean, Liverpool is a perfect example. You need an icon,
an idol,
an idol for a culture, for something to build around. It's what we found with Arteta. It's what you found with Klopp. I think it's what people have found before with Mourinho. Whatever, you need someone to look at. I'd be really curious. You know that whole thing about the American comedy versus UK comedy, where in American comedy, it can be you can be the funniest guy and the smartest guy and the cleverest guy in the room, and he's the guy making all the jokes. But in UK comedy,
Seinfeld.
It's the guy sort of punching up. It's Blackadder. It's Ricky Gervais. That's the guy. He's never the smartest person in the room.
Yeah,
and
Ricky Gervais back in the day, not now. Yeah,
well, that too. His like special was anyway.
It's unwatchable.
It is unwatchable.
It's unwatchable. It's not even whether you agree. It's not whether you agree with him or not. It's not funny. Fundamentally, it's just not funny. And that's my biggest issue, is if you go back and watch Politics, or you go back and watch Animals, it's brilliant.
He's just moaning in this one. It's just all he's doing.
Now all he's doing is just, it's like going to a Kanye West concert from years ago. Before
Just
all that
running
stuff.
about
It's
his
like,
$10
and now I got to do
shirts.
the thing. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Like, we don't want that.
But I wonder whether there's something in UK culture where we need a king or something. I'm sure there's someone will do a good analysis on this.
So I had this conversation with someone the other day. They'd run an excellent business, but the business had ultimately, what happened was they run out of money before they got their next round of funding. Very simple. That happens to a lot of people apparently, and therefore the business just couldn't continue. And they'd had a series of conversations with people from different countries, obviously, because it was an international business, and the Americans, it was almost not a thing to them that this had happened. It was like, great, well, see you in a couple of months. It'll be back on the road, and your new idea will be straight out there, and we'll be straight to market. Great, brilliant. Okay, well, we'll pick up then. Yeah. I think he spoke to an Italian and a German, and they were sort of like, yeah, these things happen. Just get back on the horse, kind of thing. And we loved your idea. It was nothing to do with that. British people act like he was dead.
Sorry, dude,
like,
it's over.
It was literally like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, how did you fail? Yeah, it was all about you failed. You didn't fill in the thing, and you didn't do the thing, and just it was
There is a
anyway. Never mind. You're dead to us now. Like, it's such a cultural difference.
There is a kind of inbuilt optimism, and I wonder whether that. Yeah, is there something like an all or nothing? I don't know. I'm sure someone could do that, and I think head coaches are revered, of course, in NBA and NFL, etc., etc. But it's
especially
more
in NFL,
general management, the owner, the head coach. It's more of a. I feel it's more of a group thing.
It feels that way. I also think obviously
they more idolize the players, and obviously we do idolize the players, but I feel like the managers are they're top of the tree.
Yeah, and I think there's been like an evolution of that. I read the book The Manager by Barney Ronay. I think came out about 10 years ago now. It was a really great book, but it was about the evolution of how at one point the manager was he used some some really weird phrases. I don't even think you can use them anymore, but like it was kind of his little like piece almost on the side of the owner of the club. Yeah, and the manager was almost like the fall guy.
Yeah,
and that was kind of seen as the role. Like that was part of the role. Is that if things went wrong and you didn't do it properly, then the big guy at the top didn't have to take the fall, and you sort of did in a way. And then there was the rise of these kind of other figures who basically just knew what they were worth. And I think ultimately, maybe we just overextended that a little bit, and now it's kind of we're returning to the mean of what a manager is, and there isn't just this one thing anymore. Mind you, maybe there are different kinds of managers, and some of them win and some of them don't. And I'd be interested to see if Rossini won the league, if that would change the perception of what the manager is, because I still think Arteta is very much in the mold of Pep or whoever else, No, for sure. And the same. It's if people are talking about clubs that have won the league. Go back and look at managers that have won the league over the last 30 years in the Premier League. All of them are egomaniacs. There's not one manager in there that's not.
All of them would at the time have been considered the most powerful person in the club, and that's the most important thing. And I don't think that's cart before the horse. I don't think they became that because they won the league. I think they were that, then they won the league. It's kind of,
and that's kind of And I think that's also the other way around. Is you can obviously retrofit it to kind of fit whatever it is that you want your narrative to be. If it doesn't work, then you just don't.
But this is why, going back to Rossini, unless he grows into that, which maybe he will. This is the thing at the minute. People are looking, I think, in football for clear a project. The project has come up. People are kind of into that. So if he can get it working, maybe he becomes more powerful and more of a figurehead at Chelsea than just a coach.
Is Ranieri? Ranieri's like a very quirky little. He's also a quirky. He clearly also has an ego, but maybe it's just not the same kind of machismo thing. Antonio Conte onwards,
probably within the four walls of Leicester, probably was one of, if not the most important person there.
Probably, and then but the year before him was Mourinho. The year before that was Pellegrini. Pellegrini is very softly spoken, but he's got a kind of a presence to it. You can just see from the way that his cheeks are.
And City at that time were looking for someone, and maybe he was cast in that role. Maybe he didn't hold on to it, but he was cast in that role a little bit, I think.
Sir Alex, Roberto Mancini, Carlo Ancelotti, Mourinho, Wenger. Wenger's an egomaniac. I mean, that is, I know it's terrible to say.
Don't say that.
Kenny Dalglish. I know he's kind of this very humble person, but he also rates himself.
Yeah.
To an extent, that's self-affirming, isn't it?
Want to come to the... you wanted to have a moan about Slot, which maybe we can do in a minute.
I didn't want to have a moan about him. What I wanted to do is say I wanted to read some of his quotes and work out why people keep saying, how the hell can he say that?
Gary Neville said that he thinks the number one position at Man United is the hardest position in the game.
Do you mean the goalkeeper?
Yeah, the number one. The goalie. Sorry,
right.
I was reading something and trying to podcast at the same time, which I can't do.
Very tricky. Score the script.
If it's because I read that earlier and I thought,
sorry, the hardest position where in
the English game, the hardest position to play, the most pressure, the most difficult position to play is the goalkeeper for Manchester United. But this is the thing. You're screwing your eyes up right now. And that was my initial response. And I thought about it for a bit. And I was like, okay, if it's not that, what is it?
To play in football?
Not the technical requirements, as in the pressure and the scrutiny on you.
Lay out why you think... So is it just based on scrutiny?
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I can't think of another one. Because at Man, first and foremost, the media circus. If we're talking scrutiny and pressure, the media circus around Manchester United. If I look back through the goalies who haven't succeeded, the Onanas and stuff, it was just constant.
Yeah, but the reason it was constant with him was nothing to do with. Yeah, but it wasn't even it was bad. He was making
the left back at Fulham or Brighton or whatever. You can have a bad game, but I think
centre back is harder than the goalkeeper at Manchester United, because I think goalkeeper at Manchester United. So I think Harry Maguire's had it harder than anyone. And again, Harry Maguire's made his own mistakes, and there have been very visible moments and all those kind of things. And Gary Neville probably knows the club better than me. Probably. I just think
really,
yeah. I just think. Goalkeeper, you can almost wipe some of that away because of the high risk that you're taking. I think centre-back, there is much more expectation just from a historic point of view. I actually think having Peter Schmeichel and other big people there, Edwin van der Sar, all these kind of people, that almost relieves it in a sense. And I think Onana was only under scrutiny. Onana got scrutiny for multiple reasons.
The goalkeeper,
it was also because the manager.
Yes, but the goalkeeper is also involved in high leverage moments in the sense that if he does or doesn't save something, if he like a centre back, it's the positioning. Or could you blame the pass?
No, but at Manchester United, I think you get what I mean, though. I think. Well, yeah, but also. Sorry, but every goalkeeper has that. I think there are centre backs where you probably can explain that away. For a centre back, I think this season I had this debate the other day with Tigo on from my left. He was saying I think Van Dijk has been your best player this season. I said I don't disagree, but there were categories we had to put everyone in, and he said Van Dijk's been in inverted commas untouchable this season, and I said I think he's actually looked his most kind of human this season. Now,
touchable.
Go and watch the podcast. Yeah, very touchable actually. Now, but I also said now. Normally,
other podcasts on our podcast.
Well, no, but hopefully they'll shout us out back. I actually think I promoted our podcast on their podcast, and they said they want you as a guest. So it's awkward now because they don't like you. So I think centre back is harder because look at the scrutiny that happened to Onana, and then look at the scrutiny that's happened to Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire has been through way, way more than any of the goalkeepers in recent years at Manchester United.
That's a time thing, though.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So wait,
but I'm not
list the last 5 goalkeepers.
Also, just remembered that I'm chatting to a Liverpool fan, and you're never going to accept this. What I will say, if it's not a goalkeeper at Man United, if it's not the goal in terms of media scrutiny, in terms of the pressure on you to deliver straight away, if it's not that, who is it? And I'm not saying it's the goalkeeper at United. I'm asking who it is.
I think it's one of the 2 centre backs at Manchester United. I think that's a much harder position. Put it this way, I'm looking up the last 10 goalkeepers at Manchester United, but we can go through them anyway. And that's just to make sure I don't miss anyone. Andre Onana, he's a good goalkeeper. He's a very solid goalkeeper, but he made a lot of very visible mistakes. None of those were scrutinised to the level that Harry Maguire had his scrutinised. Because a lot of people
went... I think it's a time thing, because Onana was there for a season. Harry Maguire, we've got so much sample.
David De Gea made
when he first came in, there was a lot of question marks around him. It was a big thing.
There were, but he also, I mean, if that was the case and the pressure was really on him, then he's either really strong or he made it through that, and I just don't buy that.
What I will say is this: in terms of I think this might change. Let's say in 10 years, I think this might be a different conversation because of where United are. But if we're looking at in the Premier League up to now, that one of the biggest teams, the success they've had, who's prominent in the media, how the media has worked up to this point, if that makes sense.
Sure.
We're entering a new era, right? Up to this point, who's had the most columns written about them? Who's had the most interest? Who's had the most eyeballs? Who's had the most Sky Super Sundays, segments? I think the goalkeeper at United, I think it's a decent shout. If it's not him, it might be
striker. It's I think I don't think there's the same level of public scrutiny for any of the Man
striker
City
at Liverpool,
players. Maybe striker at Liverpool. I think Mo Salah's probably. I think Mo Salah's had a huge amount of pressure put on him in.
But again, that's 9 years of Salah at this point. And you could take 1 year of Onana and see the amount of pressure. You can pressure builds over time for a player. I get that.
I get that. I also think that it's striker or centre-back for me. And maybe that's just because of where it's at the moment. But I think, for instance, there have been long periods where Bruno Fernandes has got away with, I would call them maybe attitude issues. Mm-hmm. I would say the same about wingers for Manchester United in recent months and years. There was scrutiny, sure. But the Anthony thing almost goes completely... How much money they spent on him and the pressure and all those kind of things was huge. I still think it's striker or centre-back for me, because I think centre-back, you're also expected to contribute a lot more to the play. I think you're expected to fit into a Vidic or Ferdinand type figure. And I think those are things that apparently a lot of people feel are achievable, whereas actually I think Edwin van der Sar and Peter Schmeichel sit on such a high level that it's almost impossible for anyone to do that comparison in the first place.
That's
so you never get compared.
That's another part of pressure. It's like the guys who came before you. Whereas that shadow, unless you've taken a number, like a 7 or something at another club,
9.
that same, you weren't, you are not that person. Every single Man United goalkeeper gets compared to the old ones, basically.
What about the Chelsea player that takes number 9? There's a lot of scrutiny on that guy.
But that's kind of more cursed. I mean, maybe who would
you could argue the position's very similar in that sense. Arsenal's 14. So who have been your 14s? You've had Theo, Omri. Who else has been?
Nketiah and Gyökeres.
Okay, so I would say 50 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Nketiah, I think, is maybe underrated. He wasn't Thierry Henry level, though, was he? But you get what I'm saying.
No.
I mean, also,
I think analysis you get on this podcast.
But
Eddie
put it this
Nketiah
way,
wasn't the level of Thierry Henry.
I mean, sometimes the obvious thing is the thing to say. The Laurence McKenna story. The Dean Henderson, Tom Heaton, Sergio Romero, Lee Grant, Victor Valdez.
A lot of these guys weren't number 1, were they?
Lindegaard, Ben Amos.
Lindegaard, good lord.
There's none of those names are memorable because David De Gea, for all that made mistakes.
He reigned supreme.
But he made so many mistakes. I'm just saying, I get what he's saying. I just don't buy it. I think centre-back or striker is much harder. And Rasmus Højlund's gone away and absolutely thrived somewhere else. Look at all the other players that have left number 9 at Manchester United recently and have thrived. I think Manchester United, the problem being, he's talking from a perspective of those goalkeepers have not thrived at Manchester United. Andre Onana has left Manchester United. He's not thrived since. David De Gea has gone away and obviously been very good. But, he was at Fiorentina. He struggled to find a club for a while. He's not...
Do you know what I'm going to do next episode, Loz? I'll just say something that makes it sound like United are a bigger club than Liverpool, and then I'll just leave, and I'll just sort of...
But the point is that what I've done is I've also listed, in that time, you can see in the mirror, I've listed the other positions, and I've said that striker or centre-back are more pressure. So, overall, Alex, I think what you've done there is really just be an idiot. Oh no! Don't come back when it suits you.
This weekend, Brighton versus Everton, Leeds United versus Arsenal.
This is my favourite bit of podcasts.
AFC Bournemouth,
it's my favourite
Chelsea
bit because I don't care.
Versus West Ham, Liverpool.
What are you saying, Alex? What are you saying?
Newcastle United.
Brighton versus Everton. What are you saying?
Score prediction: Villa, Brentford, United, Fulham, Forest, Palace, and Spurs, City.
What's the game of the weekend? Say it.
Well, out of all those, what would you say is the game of the weekend there? I really like the look of that Super Sunday fixture between Spurs and City. I'll be sat on my sofa. I'm relatable. What are you wanted to moan about, Slot? You haven't spoken enough this podcast, so go for it.
No, I don't want to say it anymore. I think everyone knows.
I think it comes back. So I'm presuming you're about to have a moan about the Europa League thing that he said, which I'm
going to do the opposite. Just imagine your shock, right? I'm going to do the opposite. I think that when he says certain things, people deliberately attach an emotion to it or an idea. So, for instance, he said, we're happy to be in the last 16, especially when only 2 years ago we were in the Europa League and lost to Atalanta.
You don't need to say that. You don't need to say that.
And I get that. And apparently he said it on multiple broadcasts. So he said it he repeated the point quite a few times, right?
But
so he said it on Bein and then he said it on,
Let me explain to you what Liverpool fans are upset about. Let me explain to you. I know better than you.
Should be good.
I feel, that's what, and that's what it is. It's a feeling. One of the top comments on the last video, by the way, was that you planted that your wife would come in to try and
I saw that. She's
get rid of some allegations.
Now. Yeah,
this is all fake. This is all a fugazi.
Doesn't help the allegations.
People think we're together. Anyway, I think Slot, kind of going back to the Rossini manager conversation that's been fiery this episode.
Zesty.
He's not really that communicator type thing, and I think now you need someone who's really, really good on the narratives and understands the weight of what he's saying. He's Dutch. We spoke about last episode. He's Dutch. He's direct. He's going to say it. But he needs to. You have to understand if you're working in England, if you've come over here, if he's working in England,
he's taken one of our jobs.
You've taken one of our jobs. He has to understand that will be taken in a certain way, whether you like it or not. Is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. It will be taken a certain way, and that's up to you as a manager to appreciate that. And it's not the first time he's done that. It isn't the first time he's done that.
First of all, he verbally checked this in a press conference. Yes, it was either yesterday or the day before, where he said, "I give very long answers, and sometimes those are, that create situations." But he says, "But I'm not going to change. I give those answers for a very good reason."
That's stupid.
But my point is actually, if I read that,
I'm getting feedback and I'm not going to change. Okay.
No, but you can't allow a journalist who isn't managing at your level, has nowhere near the pressure that you have, who is writing articles and frankly using your words against you, even though I don't really have a problem with that. We're happy to be in the last 16, especially when only 2 years ago we were in the Europa League and lost to Atalanta. Now, if I told you that was a quote from 1976 or whatever, and Bob Paisley had said it, you go, yeah, Bob, he was a humble man.
But that's just removing the context.
No, but that's my point.
Slot said this sort of stuff before.
But my point is, it's disingenuous also to... We know that these are the kind of things he says. We know that he states these things because it's probably a cultural thing. There's probably an element of him also wanting to provide context as to where he's at and kind of what is going on. And to an extent, because he feels, and maybe it's a self-perpetuating cycle, that when he says these things, people attack him and then he needs to kind of write that and he needs to add some context onto the situation. I think the overall feeling at Liverpool at the moment is that he's been a bit hard done by Liverpool, but also by the wider context in the media in that.
Fine. But especially if people are sort of pining for Klopp, and what are the lessons from the Klopp era? I'm not saying he has to play the same football or be the same guy, but there are certain things you just don't need to say, and you have to understand. Hang on. You have to understand the context that you're in and the weight of your words. That's a part of your job. You can't
but I
just
think
go,
he does understand.
Well,
that.
I'm direct, and that's just who I am.
No, but
because I tell you what happens.
I think,
just who I am, mate. He's not in a job anymore.
No, but I mean, also that person hadn't won the league. That person wasn't in a club which is anywhere near the stature, and wasn't anywhere near.
If you've got an ossifying club that's pulling in loads of different directions, why say that? You have to understand what your words are going to be. At least even taken as. This is the thing, Laurence, and you and I have experience of this directly. You know what you mean. You know what you mean. Someone else takes a soundbite of what you're saying and sort of takes it off. Fine, but if you're in a position of power, you have to understand that might happen. Yes, it's annoying, but it might happen. So just don't say it.
I get what you're saying. I also think that I wouldn't mind if it was another journalist, or it was someone who was outside the club, or it was a journalist from Manchester who just did City and United all the time and was basically just taking a bit of a pot shot for likes. It's our own guys who do the beat, who sit in the room week in, week out, who know, I think, that Slot is actually a decent guy. Like, I don't think he's a nasty, he doesn't come across at all in kind of a vicious way. You could argue that Jurgen Klopp had a nasty streak to him. I don't really think that Slot appears to have that kind of streak in him. There's no reason, I don't think, to isolate a lot of these quotes or for them to become so big. But my frustration is, as a supporter, it's not always our job to go, let's evaluate. Like, everything now just gets ripped apart and evaluated. And I know it's kind of like, well, you should know that. That's the media landscape.
Yes.
I also think it's okay to not... I think it shows a level of... And I don't understand why more people aren't looking for more than just, oh, he says something stupid, we think it's stupid, therefore it's stupid. He's also speaking his mind, and he's being honest. He's giving a journalist exactly, very often, what they want, and I think you can see it both ways, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
And I fundamentally disagree. I think if he's going to be sacked, sure, and if he gets asked, do you think you're going to be sacked? Don't answer it. But I also saw 2 weeks ago, before the last Champions League game, the Marseille game. Oh, have you seen the Xabi Alonso rumours? What do you expect him to say? What do you? And I felt you see the measure of the man when you then get his response to that was not, oh, shut up. It was, he actually tried to give him a response and take it as a thing, like take it as an answer he needs to give. I respect that.
You're kind of playing Ange ball here a little bit.
You're not comparing Arne Slot and Ange is two completely different things. Arne Slot has won the Eredivisie, and he's won the Premier League, and he's led and has he's got Mo Salah's best season out of him ever. All those things. You cannot say that Ange is the same. And also, they don't even...
made my point yet, so you don't know what to say.
But even mentioning Ange in the same... It's like saying, me and Slot are comparable, and we're not.
I'm only comparing them in the sense that I'm about to say. Ange used to do this thing with journalists where he'd almost blame the journalist, right? And I'm comparing you and Ange, to be clear, not Arne Slot and Ange. And he'd sort of blame the journo, and you are quite similar.
Chubby guys that love basket. Okay.
For sort of asking the question. It's like, well, what? It's like, yeah, you're not wrong, but they're insensitive. They're guys. Hang on. No, Loz. It is. It's objective. I don't like it, but there's guys there on 30 grand a year, and there's a guy there on 300 grand a week. And in my view, the guy on 300 grand a week who's representing a club. This forget Arne Slot, forget whatever, Ange, Tottenham, whatever. You have to understand the position you're in. They have a job to do. Their manager has told them they need to get a headline. They're going to ask a certain question. Do I like that?
I think that's
Lauren?
late. Hang on. No, I just don't accept that premise. I can't accept the premise.
Do I like that? No. But what's my job as a manager? Is it to get angry in the Ange thing? No. It's just to go, I'm not going to engage. And that's your job. And then you go, do I like the journalist question? No, but the incentives, and ultimately they're there to make money, and then he clicks, whatever. It's not their I think viewing it on an individual basis feels a bit short-sighted to me.
Yeah, but I don't think it is. When you say on an individual basis, what do you mean by that?
As in viewing it like the problem here is the journalist asking the Xabi Alonso question.
But the Xabi
for me
Alonso question is out of pocket. It's completely...
He's trying to get a headline. He's got a job.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is, I see an anti-environment to the current media environment that we exist in, and I think that there's kind of a North Star for every journalist. I don't think the journalists that are asking the Xabi Alonso question, even though you could say he might have a perfectly reasonable, honest idea of asking that question, and actually what he was trying to do, maybe he was trying to ask it to help Arne Slot and give Arne the opportunity to clear the air. It didn't come across that way. I think saying I need headlines is the same as when someone says it's raining outside and you just go, it's raining outside. Instead of checking what is actually going on, or even like Xabi Alonso, as far as we know, and I know obviously I've covered Xabi Alonso on my own Liverpool channel, so to an extent, I've sort of played into that as a cycle. There's nothing valid in the media. There is no media source that says Xabi Alonso is even in a conversation when that question is asked. He's been sacked. But you wouldn't. Yeah. But you would not go to any other manager who's having a hard time and go, Xabi Alonso, what do you think?
Yes, honestly,
it's
mate,
it's so happened. No, I get what you're saying, and I don't really have a problem with that. But I just think the Xabi Alonso thing is maybe a bit of a sidetrack, because I think if you say of another manager, if you attribute that quote to someone else, they go, what a humble man. And I think people are very slow to give credit to Arne Slot for A, making it through this period, and B, answering a lot of these questions with what I would consider to be a lot of what's the phrase, like dignity in the way that he's acted, integrity and dignity.
I don't disagree. Maybe he deserves more credit than he's due. But if we're isolating that quote, the thing we started with about the Europa League, it's just a little bit silly. And I think he needs to tighten up in that regard. And going into blaming journos for asking certain questions, that's the game, bro. And this is what Ange did. He would just blame the journo. It's like, okay, Ange, what you can do, someone can literally say to you, Ange, we think you're an absolute mug, mate, with a stupid head, and you just hear it and you go, okay, well, I'm just here to train my players. You don't need to engage with it.
I get that.
You've got to learn that lesson.
Whilst I understand that, I also think that there comes to a level of it's actually not about even the question and whether it gets printed or not, or where it goes. I think the contempt that's being shown in that room is a deliberate attempt to try to create a story. And I think journalists I think you can search think right? And I think that's perfectly valid. I think there are times now where journalists are they're trying to, and this has always happened. So, it's naive of me to say this is now only happening. People have always looked for a story. They've always created it. They've always done investigating. But there has to be a line where we go, actually, it's not Arne Slot's fault for being asked a question, and it's not this and that. But at the same time, I also think he's well within his rights as manager of Liverpool, as manager of the club, to speak about the history of the club that he's at, and to remind people. I think this is partly a product of that. I'm worthy of a bit of respect here. Remember where we were not long ago. Remember we won the league last season, whether you want to attribute it to someone else or someone else. And I get when you're trying to force other people to respect you, maybe you're not in a position of power. Mm-hmm. But I think it's not as open and shut as he can't say X or he can't say Y. Because I also think if Jurgen Klopp says that, everyone goes, yeah, no, he's right. We were in the Europa League. But we were. Like, that's what they do.
I guess maybe the crosswires is there's media management where I think I would argue that what I'm putting forward is accurate, and then there's the truth, which is probably what you're putting forward is accurate. And I think when you're the manager of Liverpool, and both are true, when you're the manager of Liverpool in a press conference, you've got to be more on the media management side than the truth side. That's also all I'd say. It's true of any manager.
It's kind of also, what are you gaining from reminding people of that? As Liverpool fans, we understand that already. But I think maybe
you have won the Premier League. You don't need to prove yourself.
There's also but I guess from my perspective also, then I look at it and say maybe I think it's not very charitable. I think if you read a quote and then you go, well, he just doesn't get the fans. I think I would also say maybe it is a signal in the breakdown of the relationship between Arne Slot and the fans. Possibly. And within that, I would read into that I think Arne Slot feels that's a bit one-sided and maybe slightly unfair on him, considering that maybe there have been things put in the media and all those kind of things. And that might feel it might just be a reminder of, actually, I don't think I'm the bad guy here. But I don't think anyone obviously acts from a position where they think they're the bad guy. I think he's reminding people, listen, I might not be the issue that you're, and I'm just the focus of your ire right now.
I hear that. And it's very easy to sit here and say, here's how we should have managed that better in the media, and I don't think I'm wrong. But equally, to be in the emotions of it, it's a hard thing to do. So,
by the way, can I ask you something? There was a Gary Neville quote last week where Gary mentioned Carlo Ancelotti.
what
For Manchester United.
Right. Yeah.
I think Gary's seen our clip, because Carlo Ancelotti was not mentioned at all anywhere before we brought him up on this podcast. There was not one platform. You can come and tell me.
Takes it off your lights.
Yeah.
Gary Neville watches you.
Yeah.
You want to complete the ego hat trick today? There's got to be something else.
How's that an ego hat trick? It's just that we put something stupid out there, and then Gary also said it as well. Sometimes I just think, you're getting paid a lot of money, mate. You're here to ask the questions.
I like the we put out the Jamie O'Hara clip, and people thought I was being serious when I said he was making a good point. Even though I put you going.
Did you put that there? Because I thought it was really well edited.
I edited the whole thing, Laurence.
Lovely. I thought you did a really nice hook as well. It was good. I thought it was good.
Thanks,
yeah. Can you do the face slimming thing next time, though,
No.
that you do for you? Okay.
So someone did make a fat phobic comment to you on Instagram, which I didn't.
I know. One guy said I look chunky.
He said you'd eaten someone, which in the AI picture, just to go back to it, you do look like you've eaten someone. You don't
Right,
now.
but I don't think he meant that. I've just been. Let's just be honest, guys. Just been having a hard time recently, so let's just lay off that a little bit. All right.
Where are we? Also, why do you reply to all the people?
Who did I reply to? I've not replied to all the
You reply to loads
comments.
of people all the time. Just leave
Reply
them.
to some of the people some of the time. That's fine.
Just reply to the nice ones and say thank you so much.
I will.
When
in
did
future.
Laurence McKenna spelt wrong? Go chonky. I'm too high for this.
He also said chonky, which is rude. So
yeah.
the only other thing I'll say is I think Mourinho would be box office in the Premier League right now.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit angry they didn't come back to Wolves.
Fulham, Everton, Wolves, somewhere like that.
There's a job.
Get him in.
This summer, I think there's an opening where Mourinho fits, and I just don't quite. It's not West Ham because they'll get relegated. It's someone who stays up, and I need to go to the standings and look at it.
Imagine Bournemouth just go rogue, like Iraola goes, and they just go right.
Here we go.
Get
In he
Mourinho
comes.
in.
Crystal Palace. He won't get the investment at Palace.
No, Palace. Leeds.
Sunderland. No.
Leeds could be quite
would be
interesting.
So interesting.
Forest
also he's
feels
not
like a
gonna get
Mourinho job, and that would go so badly.
Because he's so Clough, isn't he? He's so Portuguese Clough.
Well, I don't think he'd say thank you, Mr. Marinakis, after everything he says in the stadium. So
I think it stinks of he will fall out with Mr. Marinakis, but initially it'll be I'm so happy that Mr. Marinakis brought me in, and then after a while that goes very, very sour. And it's such a balls on the table thing where ultimately he just throws it back in people's faces. And Mr. Marinakis is Greek. He's been insulting the Turks a lot. Like maybe there's a bit of a.
It will be a couple of games, a little winning streak, and then he gets in a press conference and just sort of doesn't really answer any questions. Says, "It's a question for Mr. Marinakis."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's just the whole press conference.
Why did you play him at left back today?
It's a question for Mr. Marinakis. I like the Unai one where he goes when they go, "Oh, why aren't you?" I can't remember what the question was, but he just looks at her like, "Love it." Love it.
I think sometimes you can come across a bit weird as a manager, can't you?
Marco,
who's the weirdest manager in the Premier League right now?
Bissot. Who's the weirdest manager? In what sense?
Just tell me who's the vibe.
Just okay, like wouldn't want to be trapped in a lift with. Can that be the judgment?
Because I like Rob Edwards.
Rob Edwards, fine. Scott Parker, but only because Scott Parker wouldn't want to be trapped in a lift with, but only because I think he'd like try and get me on a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, like he'd go, my wife loves Avon.
Yeah. Nuno
West
seems
Ham,
nice.
Nuno seems like a good guy. Forrest, I think, is perfectly. Sean Dyche is a little bit.
I like Dyche.
He's a little bit strange, though. Daniel Farker, I don't know him. He's unknowable. Oliver Glasner. Do you see the Glasner thing where that guy, the Millwall fan, tried to take a picture with him? And I've never seen a manager like this before.
He
pushed the Millwall fan off.
Yeah.
And then he points at me. I was like, back off, I'm doing something, but in a very French way. And the Millwall fan goes, I will knock you out. Glasner doesn't flinch. He just goes, he just looks at him like, you won't. And then he walks off.
He's not French either. Have you...
you get what I mean, though.
Have you... his story of how he got into management, he nearly died in an operation. He collapsed in a...
This guy should be a manager. Do you like that feeling? That every weekend.
Every weekend. He collapsed in a shower and his team had to go to hospital. He had like a brain hemorrhage or something. And then became
I just realised he's Austrian.
Yeah. He's not French.
Did you think
he was French?
He was French all these years. Glasner's not...
Thomas Frank, I'd have a lovely glass of wine with, I feel.
You would have a lovely glass of wine.
Iraola, I think, would only talk tactics and that would just get quite grating.
Iraola also looks like he lives off Iberian ham. I don't know what it is. He just really does.
Hertzler's definitely into some underground like trance music, and he'd start playing it on his phone and going, "Oh mate, listen to this."
Yeah, and it would be he wouldn't be able to connect it to the system.
Yeah, it was working last week.
Lebris, no. Everton's kind of David Moyes. I think David Moyes is actually a lovely guy.
Moyes seems nice.
I've got a thing where
Eddie Howe, I think
might
back
be
to
Eddie Howe.
What you said earlier at the barbecue, he'd be so hard to talk to.
I just think
he'd be so hard to talk to.
So I think it's an our personality type sort of thing, where we are just not the kind of people that gel with that kind of barbecue.
Do you know what I noticed about myself? When someone doesn't sort of immediately warm to me, I'm like, well, I don't like you then.
You're also an egomaniac.
Only says anything about me.
Yeah. Well, it says something about them, but I mean, maybe they've judged the situation correctly, is what some people would
argue.
Yeah.
Keith Andrews
seems like a fine guy. I bet he went to like Keele University or something like that. He seems like that kind of personality. Yeah, definitely.
Fulham, Marco Silva, intense, but like possibly could at least step away from the football and give some interesting perspectives on life.
But exactly the kind of guy that I would want to have dinner with, but I would also feel like I'd always be trying to impress him.
Yes. He's got dad who you can't quite impress energy.
Yeah. He's got father-in-law vibes.
Slot, I think, would end up just deconstructing everything.
I think the problem with Slot is you finish your story and he's the kind of guy that like goes, yeah, that's quite interesting, I suppose. Yeah. And then he just kind of hears your story, but he never really adds to your story, if that makes sense.
Wow.
You go, yeah.
It's like he's holding a lot back. He's like,
he lets your story hang and he doesn't really offer very much back, but he does give you a story that makes you think he's offered you something for the night. But I still like, he's a good guy, but it would be trading stories. Yeah. And
when I was here.
Yeah, and he'd really enjoy it, and I would really enjoy it, but I don't think we connect. Chelsea, Rosinia, sorry, my problem is, and I was going to admit this earlier, I think some people dislike Liam Rosinia because they see shades of themselves in him.
Yeah, I think cringe.
Yeah, like they see the I see my problem is I look at Liam Rosinia, I really see quite a vulnerable person.
Yeah, I see that.
And that vulnerability makes me angry and empathetic all at the same time with him.
I saw a guy proposing to his girlfriend earlier, and I'm not going to do it on camera.
In real life?
I nearly did it on a video.
Okay.
And he's like, he sets up the video, and he's like, they're going to do like a photo opportunity type thing. He does a 360 onto the floor, 360 round, and goes, skadoosh. Will you marry me? And I can imagine Liam Rosinia
doing that. And you know, at that point, I sometimes think, obviously they're expecting the surprise, the woman or the person on the other end of it. I go, do you want to redo that?
No.
Should we do?
It's a one-time moment.
No, I know, but just purely for the clip. Do you want to redo that?
For this social media marriage. Anyway, weirdest manager in the Premier League is Pep.
It's definitely Pep. Michael Carrick.
I don't think Pep's even weird though. I think he's just so, those people who are so, you wouldn't know this, who are so smart and just like they can't be in conversations where there's so much they're thinking, and so they're just weird.
Who's the smartest person you've ever met in football YouTube?
It's probably you.
Yeah, but if you no, I think there's a lot of very smart people. It just struck me. I think, there's a lot of very smart people. I think I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. Football Meta is really smart. You know who I mean, though.
I've never heard of that person.
What?
Sorry.
You'd love him.
Yeah.
You would get on so well with him.
Smart by what? Smart is like, how do you
street smart? That? I can talk to Prince or Pauper. That's my favourite phrase from
at that
The
cafe,
Apprentice.
and you were just connecting with those, were they Albanian guys?
Yeah, but that was because they were Kosovan. I connected them because they were Kosovan. Yeah, they were just there. It made it a lot easier.
Subscribe to Alex and Loz
they
Talk
probably
About
stopped a
Football,
long time ago.
episode 2 for now.
Very good. So you didn't name me Game of the Weekend. Awkward.